What up, YouTube? LTH coming at you with a video. 713 the Space City Win in the building. And yep, I'm back. Another night, another day, another Houston Texans related video. So, according to the moves that happened earlier, the Houston Texans had re-signed linebacker / special teams ace EJ Speed up to 2 years worth $13 million. $13 million. Along with re-signing MJ Stewart, who suffered a season-ending injury versus, I think, Indianapolis last season, if I'm not wrong. But I look at that as a depth move. I mean, yeah, I still see the Texans adding at least another safety, to shore up that safety depth, because, man, that safety depth going into 2026 is going to be key. And yeah, I understand, players are going to be fighting for their jobs per usual every year, since the NFL is a year-to-year league. Things change, mindsets change. So MJ Stewart's going to be here for another year, as far as, filling in for special teams or even filling in, as a backup role. So, yeah, I mean, still excited to see what Jalen Reed does, though in 2026. I mean, I like what he did, He did some pretty nice things, and I mean, it just sucks, the injury bug, kind of kicked his butt in the early going, but hopefully he can stay healthy for a full season, to see what he's about, see what his strengths and weaknesses, as far as Jalen Reed. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Now for EJ Speed, putting my 2 cents in on this move, knowing that Christian Harris is pretty much a goner, I feel like, EJ Speed filled in pretty well. I mean, I'm not saying not at an elite level, but I thought he filled in pretty well, in case, for example, if Cesar Shire didn't either miss a game or two or came out a few plays. And I just thought he did a pretty fine job of filling in, and also you can't overlook what he did on special teams as well. Did his thing on special teams, and filled in pretty well. Fundamentals, I would guess his fundamentals was a key part of him filling in quite well. Maybe not an elite level, but at a solid level at that. I mean, yeah, linebacker depth is also key as well. But, good to see that, EJ Speed's going to be returning for 2 more years. Not just for special teams, but also in the linebacking core too. Gonna see what, he can bring as a rotational linebacker, I would say. I mean, I can't be too upset at the re-signing. I mean, like I mentioned before, it's still work to be done. Free agency is around the corner. But, safe to say that, going to be seeing at least 2 more years of EJ Speed. But hopefully he keeps, hopefully he can keep playing at a pretty consistent level, for at least 2 more years. I mean, it's not guaranteed, got to go through training camp, mini camp and all that. Well, even preseason. But, hey, EJ Speed is back for 2 more years. And, just thought he had a pretty solid season in 2025. When we first signed him last offseason for a 1-year deal. So that's the 3rd player we have extended. First it was Dalton Schultz, then MJ Stewart, now EJ Speed. So, and gotta say, look for a few more restructures to happen too. If it means setting up the Houston Texans, extending Will Anderson, for about 4 or 5 years, I'm looking at. I mean, not sure what the money's gonna look like, but I see Will Anderson being extended for about 4 or 5 more years to come. So When that happens, I'll for damn sure be here making a video about it. Because Will Anderson deserves his bag. But until then, you know, Lloyd Houston checking on up out of here. 713 Space City. I'm out.